Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 3 of our Las Vegas mini-series. These are 4 distinct videos that bring you guys to the absolute coolest spots near the Las Vegas area and plan your itinerary for you. In the last video, we show you guys Valley of Fire State Park, which is one of the most unique state parks I've been to, but is also a perfect representation of the landscapes found in the American Southwest. Now this time, we're going to talk about the Big Boss, one of the natural wonders of the world, the Grand Canyon. Now a lot of people are familiar with the South Rim and North Rim of Grand Canyon National Park. But did you know there is also a West Rim that is managed by the native Hualapai Indian tribes and not the National Park Service? Matter of fact, if you look at the national park's boundaries, the federally protected land carves its way around Grand Canyon West by protecting the interior of the canyon without touching any of the land in the Hualapai Reservation. In other words, there will be times where you will be looking into national park territory without technically being in the national park. If for some reason Grand Canyon West is your only shot at visiting the Grand Canyon and you really want to just check off the national park, you can helicopter in from the Indian Reservation into park boundaries. But if you're really that desperate, I'd just take the long drive to the South or North Rims, which are where you have the most unbelievable vantage points and hiking trails inside the canyon. The whole point of Grand Canyon West is to give those visiting or living in the Las Vegas area an alternative without having to drive that far. Because you are very much looking at the Grand Canyon, like this is the real thing. However, since it isn't managed by the National Park Service or the US government, there's only so many things you can do here. But we'll get into that in a second. First, let's talk about some basic information on how to get there and our experience getting to Grand Canyon West. If you're coming from Las Vegas, it is a 125-mile drive or exactly 2 hours away by car. Since you are crossing from Nevada to Arizona, you'll actually be gaining an hour, so remember that if you're planning a visit. You will be driving right by the Hoover Dam, which we make a stop at on the way back. But the Hoover Dam is also surrounded by Lake Mead National Recreation Area, which I only found out about in 2021 because I flew over it on a flight from Mexico City to Las Vegas. The reason I bring up Lake Mead is because there are a few National Recreation Area overlooks along the route to Grand Canyon West. The one we stopped at was simply called the Scenic View Rest Area, but it was actually a really nice view. If you look closely enough, you'll be able to spot the Colorado River, which I want you to keep in mind because this is the same river that carved its way through the Grand Canyon, and you will be seeing it later on in the episode. Once you get past the National Recreation lands, the drive is really flat and unimpressive. However, there is a substantial Joshua tree population pretty close by to Grand Canyon West. Seriously, this looked like more Joshua trees than the amount that exist within Joshua Tree National Park. As you come close to your destination, a few mountains and buttes start to pop up, which give you an indication that you are nearing a canyon. Then upon arrival, you'll park right at the visitor center to either pick up your tickets, or if you've already purchased them online, you can just skip that process. The way Grand Canyon West operates is they don't let you drive past this point because they have shuttle buses taking you from point A to point B. There are only 2 stops though, so spend a good chunk of time at both. The first drops you off right at Eagle Point, which is the first overlook you'll experience at Grand Canyon West. Now, Eagle Point's overlook is absolutely stunning and the canyon goes on for as long as the eye can see. However, it is probably my least favorite of the 3 major views in the park since there is a barrier preventing you from getting close to the edge. This bothered me only because the ground always ended up in my video shots and IRL viewpoints, and people do bottleneck in close proximity around here as well. While an upcharge attraction, I'd actually recommend forking in the extra money to do the Sky Bridge. This is a 10-foot wide horseshoe-shaped glass bridge that was built entirely by the Indian tribe. It extends 70 feet over the rim of the Grand Canyon, giving you a clear view 4,000 feet to the canyon floor below. This was an absolutely terrifying experience, but an unforgettable one at that. Now, unfortunately, they are very strict about bringing phones and cameras out on the bridge, so they metal detect you and make sure you put everything in a free locker. Personally, I don't understand why they wouldn't allow a chest-mounted GoPro because they say the reason is they don't want anyone dropping anything on the glass. My honest guess is they prohibit this because the professional photographers that can sell pictures of you on the bridge wouldn't make as much money if you could just bring on your own mounted camera. Despite the fact that the Sky Bridge is located right next door to Eagle Point, the view is completely unobstructed and is that much more amazing. I honestly wasn't sure if the Sky Bridge was going to be a tourist trap or not, but it's actually worth the extra fee that you'll pay. I'll get more into the cost of things at the end of the video, but the Sky Bridge alone is a reasonable price. Once you're done with that, a shuttle bus picks you up and takes you to your second and final stop at Guano Point. This is by far my favorite included experience because you get the most amazing panoramic views of the canyon. Best of all, it's a huge, spacious overlook that you can briefly walk around, and the views are unobstructed, so there is no arbitrary fencing in the way. Guano Point was something straight out of a dream and is the one thing you need to make a priority if you come here. My personal favorite feature about Guano Point was the ability to see the Colorado River snake its way through the Grand Canyon. If you visit the south or north rims of the national park and don't hike into the canyon, you can't really take in the river because the canyon is just absolutely ginormous. But coming to Grand Canyon West gave me a totally unique perspective that I hadn't seen before, which is part of the reason I enjoyed this place as much as I did. Honestly, I don't know if there's a more scenic bathroom in the world than this one. I want to wrap up our experience at Grand Canyon West with a few overall thoughts. The first is that if Grand Canyon West was my first impression of the Grand Canyon and I had never experienced the overlooks at the south or north rim, I think I'd be a little disappointed. The few overlooks and attractions they have at Grand Canyon West are absolutely amazing, but that's the thing, is that there's only a few of them. You could probably walk away spending just over 2 hours here and I wouldn't even consider that to be rushed. The second thought I had leaving this place was that it was crazy overpriced. Again, don't get me wrong, I very much enjoyed my experience here. Every second I spent taking in the views I will cherish for the rest of my life. However, to get into Grand Canyon West costs $45 a person. Not for a group, not for a single vehicle, but per person, and that's not even including the skywalk. If you get a package deal including admission and the skywalk, it'll run you about $65. I stand by what I said earlier about the skywalk alone being a reasonably priced experience at only $20 extra, but to pay $45 a person just for 2 overlooks is completely unreasonable. Unless you go in with these expectations and are fine with it, I think I'd recommend driving the additional 2.5 hours to get to the southern rim of Grand Canyon National Park, which is far cheaper and has a ton more to do. I am aware that the Hualapai tribe doesn't need to be allowing any people to visit at all. I am grateful that they at least offer this experience for those in or near Las Vegas, but I think there's 2 things they could do to make it more worth your while. One, they could simply lower the price of admission, or they could build hiking trails and additional overlooks to actually justify the steep price. But until then, I think whether or not I'd recommend this place is going to vary depending on the person. I personally can't see myself coming back here in favor of the north and south rims at the national park, but I am glad I had the chance to visit and see the west rim just this one time. Now before I wrap up the video, I did say I'd throw in our experience at the Hoover Dam at the very end of the episode. We didn't make a lot of time for this place since we didn't exactly know if it would even be open. We were visiting on Christmas Day, but much to my surprise, access to the dam was available. The first thing I noticed was that admission and parking was free, which I loved. Then you'll just need to take a short walk over these beautifully constructed bridges to get to the top of the Hoover Dam. The Hoover Dam is one of the greatest feats of architecture and engineering I've ever seen. It's this huge arch dam that literally divides the border between Nevada and Arizona. It controls the flow of the Colorado River, which itself has carved through enough of this canyon to expose the impressive color formations. The Hoover Dam points towards one of the most visually impressive bridges I've seen. The classic arch bridge design spans the Colorado River, and right along the highway is a pedestrian bridge for visitors to walk on. Though we got to the top a little after sunset, so it was a little dark, the views of the dam and river were unparalleled. I've heard conflicting things about the Hoover Dam. Some think it's a waste of time, but I loved it. I would have gladly spent more time taking in my surroundings and exploring some of the nearby overlooks at Lake Mead. But with that being said, I will now conclude episode 3 of our little Las Vegas trip. If you enjoyed, feel free to give this video a like and subscribe to Travel Dash so that you don't miss episode 4 or any other future videos. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye guys.